The year 2025 has passed. Since when? Since the birth of Jesus Christ. Well, that's not even certain. As a matter of fact, according to many sources, his birth is believed to have occurred between 4 and 6 BC. And besides, there is no year 0. We jumped directly from 1 BC to AD 1. But that's not our topic. Of course, I know we need a calendar system that everyone agrees on, but personally, I don't like this one. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like it because of my motivation. This might sound like a joke to some of you, but there are actually quite a lot of people who believe that humanity began only 2025 years ago. Yes, there are people who seriously think humans have been walking the earth for just 2025 years, and they are not few in number. This creates a serious perception problem. Personally, I feel much closer to the 12,000-year calendar used by the Kurzgesagt, the YouTube channel, which takes Göbeklitepe, what they consider the beginning of civilization, as its reference point, and even that doesn't really show the full scale. We have been here for 300,000 years. For 300,000 years, we have been born, grown, and died. The number has exceeded 100 billion. More than 100 billion humans have lived and died throughout history. Why do we ignore these people? Why do we ignore what they experienced, what they left behind for us? That's my motivation. So yes, happy 2026 to all of us, of course. But since New Year's doesn't mean all that much to me, I want to look back a little. Let's see where we came from. Because if you don't know where you came from, you can't know where you're going, right? So then, with a somewhat random and heavily generalized list, let's take a journey through the most important years in human history together. Our first stop is very far away. Let's go to Şanlıurfa. Let's go to Göbeklitepe, the so-called 0 point of history. In 1963, there were suspicions that something unusual was going on there. Göbeklitepe shattered the long-held belief that the beginning of civilization dated back to around 3000 to 4000 BC, tied to the invention of writing and the founding of city-states. Göbeklitepe changed everything. Built around 12,000 years ago, Göbeklitepe was in a sense a place where humanity sent a far stronger message to the universe. We are here too. But let's be fair, we should also remember the people of the Chauvet cave in France. They're laving at us from 30,000 years ago with their handprints they left on cave walls. These are considered the oldest intentional traces left by humans. Of course, who knows how much remains undiscovered. But let's continue with the reliable data we have. When we go back 12,000 years, we once again encounter humanity's adventure of domesticating nature in the region we know as the Levantine, including present-day Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Palestine, and Egypt. People began cultivating wheat, grains, and lentils. Tired of constant migration and the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, humanity began to settle down. And around 9100 BC in Klimonas, located in today's southern Cyprus, the earliest known agricultural community, based on what we've discovered, was established. After this settling down, things progressed like pulling a loose thread. Sheep were domesticated. This suited people so well that they no longer felt much need to move around. By around 4000 BC, the first cities were established in Mesopotamia, particularly in what is now Iraq. According to legends, the Sumerians founded what is considered the world's oldest city, Eridu, around 6000 BC. Later, around 2000 BC, cities such as Uruk, Lagash, and Ur, also founded by the Sumerians, became the largest cities in the world. And with this came a certain level of stability and prosperity. Not having to risk one's life for food allowed innovation to emerge. Around 3500 BC, the first wheeled vehicles appeared in Mesopotamia. Soon after came the first writing systems, cuneiform in Mesopotamia, hieroglyphs in Egypt, and the Indus script, also known as the Harappan writing, in what is now Afghanistan. As humans settled in different regions, they began inventing things and recording their experiences through symbols and writing. As a side note, isn't it sad what these regions where so many discoveries that shaped the modern world were made look like today? But that's another topic. Then humanity couldn't help itself, and massive structures began to rise. Around 2000 BC, the Great Pyramid was built. At the same time, ziggurats rose in Iran, Stonehenge in England, pyramids in China, though less well known, and Newgrange in Ireland all emerged around similar periods. These structures rising simultaneously in different geographies are telling. They show that humanity was outgrowing the earth, eager to proclaim its existence. With living together came necessities. The first written laws appeared around 1754 BC. In the Code of Hammurabi, the Babylonian king Hammurabi stated that the god Marduk had sent him to rule the people, to establish justice in the land and increase prosperity. These laws show us that living together created problems, and that laws emerged as a natural reaction. Then around 800 BC, fueled by the prosperity and knowledge accumulated in nearby Mesopotamia, ancient Greek civilization emerged. We begin to see the first major wars. The long conflicts between Persia and Greece eventually led to the flourishing of Greek civilization. Tragedy was born in a sense. Organized artistic practice appeared. In 429 BC, Sophocles' Oedipus Rex was staged in Athens, while Herodotus wrote his history of the Greco-Persian Wars. Books began to emerge. These efforts to record history spread, strengthening humanity's collective memory. Knowledge could now be passed across generations. Rome no longer needed to be rediscovered over and over again. Speaking of Rome, while all this was happening in Athens, Roman civilization soon arose in Italy. These two great civilizations shaped history through war, philosophy, art, sports, and thought. Around 400 BC, the Hippocratic Oath appeared. Plato founded the Academy in Athens, followed by Aristotle establishing the Lyceum, the original form of what we now call high school. Once humans began living together, belief systems, something that shaped global politics, inevitably emerged. From ancient Egyptian beliefs to Confucianism in China, Hinduism and Buddhism in India, Christianity, and eventually Islam, we witnessed the birth of countless religions and belief systems. During this time, countless civilizations rose and fell. While Europe entered the Dark Ages, an extraordinary enlightenment emerged in the Middle East. Scholars such as Al-Khawarizmi, Al-Biruni, Omar Khayyam, Al-Batani, Ibrahim Al-Fazari, and many others laid the foundations of science, scientific thought, and the scientific method. Building upon Greek, Chinese, and Indian texts, they sparked a remarkable awakening, from robotics to optics, physics to mathematics. And then, a man named Genghis Khan appeared, shifting global power balances and destroying centuries of accumulated knowledge in some regions. Yet the enlightenment that spread from the Middle East would not fade. It would travel to Europe and then to the rest of the world. At around the same time, Usman Bey was laying the foundations of one of the most magnificent empires in history. The period after 1200 was marked by major ruptures. From this point on, humanity dramatically shifted gears. Let's speed up too. In the 1200s, Marco Polo traveled the world. Stories spread via sailing ships. Later, the Aztecs rose in Mexico, building a remarkable civilization. Then, as Europe struggled to emerge from the Dark Ages, a massive black cloud descended. The plague, the Black Death. 1/3 of the population perished. A horrible time. But from this darkness, the Renaissance was born in Italy. After the plague ended in 1448, a new era began, around 1350, an extraordinary period. Art, architecture, music, engineering flourished. From Botticelli to Michelangelo, Da Vinci to Ghiberti, this was a monumental awakening. During this time, Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. Knowledge, once limited to a few, began spreading like a virus. Then Sultan Mehmed appeared, conquering Constantinople and becoming the conqueror. With him, the final nail was driven into the coffin of the Byzantine Empire. An era ended, a new one began. In Renaissance-lit Europe, figures like Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo emerged. And you know the rest. Galileo looked through a telescope. Everything we thought we knew was shaken. The telescope became our third eye, showing us our place in the universe. And then Isaac Newton explained what we saw. motion, gravity, planetary movement, humanity began to decipher the language of the universe. And then came a magnificent revolution. Just listing names is enough to understand it. Da Vinci, Copernicus, Gutenberg, Bruno, Galileo, Kepler, Bacon, Brahe, Vesalius, Newton, Leibniz, Boyle, Descartes, Pascal, Spinoza, Lavoisier, Watt, Bernoulli, Volta, Euler, Faraday, Maxwell, Darwin, Pasteur, Mendeleev, Tesla, Planck, Einstein, Bohr, Curie, Turing, Feynman, Schrödinger, Fermi, and Fleming. These were not just adding stones, they were building entire structures on thousands of years of legacy. And then, what happened? Cars, planes, rockets, eventually the moon, computers, the internet, phones, and here we are. So when you think about all this, do you really just say, welcome to 2026? This is a 300,000-year legacy. Survival alone was an extraordinary achievement. What humanity endured before settling down is beyond imagination. But the fact that we are here today is incredible. Let's celebrate that. And as always, until we meet again, I'm glad you're here.